Yep. Today is a great day for workers, a bad day for big bosses that want to exploit those workers. We're really proud that we were able to push forward with this legislation. This is a historic thing that happened today in the House. We had a government bill that we forced the Liberals to introduce. It was passed now in second reading. And I want to be very clear about something. The Liberals would have never done this but for New Democrats forcing them to bring it in. The Liberals have voted against anti-scab legislation in the past numerous times. The Conservatives have voted against this in the past numerous times. New Democrats were persistent. We kept on fighting, and we forced this forward. And now this is about giving workers the power to demand better wages. At a time when CEOs are making record bonuses, corporations are making record profits, workers are struggling to make ends meet. This is a bill that will give workers power to negotiate fair wages, will tip the balance, tip the scales in favor of workers. We're proud to have been working alongside numerous labor activists, the CLC, unions, and workers to get to this point. Generations of New Democrats have fought for this, and now we have a bill that's passing second reading, so we're really proud. Donc aujourd'hui, c'est une journée historique pour le mouvement syndical. C'est une journée historique pour les travailleurs. Ce qu'on a accompli aujourd'hui, c'est de donner plus de pouvoir aux travailleurs pour négocier les bons salaires, les bonnes conditions de travail. Et il faut dire ça aussi, que c'est grâce à nos efforts qu'on est dans cette situation. On a forcé le gouvernement de présenter un projet de loi. Dans le passé, les libéraux ont voté contre un projet de loi anti-briseur de grève plusieurs fois. Les conservateurs aussi ont voté contre un projet de loi briseur de grève plusieurs fois. Donc c'est vraiment grâce à nos efforts et l'effort du mouvement syndical, des syndicats en général, qu'on est dans cette situation. Donc on est tellement fiers aujourd'hui. Une bonne journée pour les travailleurs. On va continuer de mettre la pression pour améliorer ce projet de loi et on est tellement fiers de ce qu'on a fait ensemble. I'm going to now ask my labor critics, both Alexandre Boulerice and Matthew Green, to share some words as well. We're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish so far. Lots more work to do, but we're really proud. Alexandre?
Merci beaucoup, Jagmeet. Bonjour tout le monde. C'est effectivement une grande journée pour le mouvement des travailleurs et des travailleuses au Québec puis partout au pays. C'est la réalisation de combats qui ont été menés par des hommes et des femmes syndicalistes depuis des décennies. Et aujourd'hui, on y approche pour vrai. C'est une grande réalisation que le mouvement syndical et le NPD on a réussi à faire aujourd'hui. Il y a encore du travail à faire en comité. Il faut améliorer le projet de loi. Il faut qu'il soit mis en œuvre le plus rapidement possible. Mais je pense qu'on va quand même prendre cette grande victoire-là. On aurait eu besoin d'un projet de loi comme ça il y a 30 ans puis il y a 40 ans. Mais c'est grâce aux efforts que Jagmeet puis tout le caucus du NPD ont fait qu'on a réussi à avoir ce gain-là aujourd'hui. Les libéraux ne l'auraient pas fait sans nous. Les conservateurs ont toujours voté contre également. Puis les conservateurs de M. Poilievre ont souvent déposé des lois qui s'attaquaient au mouvement syndical et aux droits des travailleurs et des travailleuses. Donc, on va tempérer leur vote un peu aujourd'hui. On ne leur fait pas confiance du tout sur ces enjeux-là. Simplement pour vous dire qu'il y a des gens qui auraient besoin aujourd'hui de cette loi-là, une loi anti-briseur de grève, une loi anti-scab. Je pense aux débardeurs du port de Québec qui sont en lockout depuis plus d'1 an. Je pense aux gens qui sont en conflit de travail chez Vidéotron en ce moment, qui sont remplacés par des scabs aussi. Et aussi, je pense aux syndicats du personnel administratif des bases militaires qui sont en conflit de travail actuellement et qui sont remplacés par des scabs, par des gens des Forces armées canadiennes. Ça se passe en ce moment. J'inviterais le gouvernement fédéral, les libéraux, s'ils sont sérieux, qu'ils ne veulent plus avoir de travailleurs de remplacement, qu'ils interviennent et qu'ils règlent ce conflit de travail actuel. Ces gens-là ne méritent pas de se faire remplacer pendant qu'ils sont en conflit de travail. Merci.
Well, as a proud New Democrat and a member of Canada's only Labour Party, it is certainly a pleasure to be here. Just moments ago, we were able to lead a Solidarity Forever chant as we saw a unanimous vote, but we are not fooled by Liberals and Conservatives who for the past 15 years have voted 8 times against delivering this legislation, where we heard this week in debates, Conservatives stand up and proudly declare that they themselves were scabs. New Democrats understand that the only way to fight against the raising costs and corporate greed is through collective bargaining and is through unions. And the use of replacement workers, scab workers, in times of negotiations literally takes food off the tables of Canadian workers. That's why today is important, but we are going to start the work today to make sure that when this gets to committee, that we're not going to see liberal loopholes or conservative poison pills on this legislation, that New Democrats are going to continue to fight and win for workers. Thank you.
Love it.
Obviously, the Conservatives voted in favor of it. Why do you think there is this departure from this Harper-era policies where there was, union-busting laws that were implemented? Why are we seeing this policy shift from the Conservatives?
Oh, it's no departure. This is the same party that is anti-union, anti-worker. We've got ample evidence. First of all, what I would call today is a flip-flop. Pierre Poilievre has voted 8 times against this type of law and against anti-scab legislation. He's flip-flopping now. But let's look at his track record. He continues to be opposed to pensions, voting against pensions, voting against healthcare, voting to cut EI. He is opposed to workers. When workers tell us that they need universal pharmacare, he is opposed to pharmacare. Workers that are struggling that need access to dental care, he is opposed to that. He is in favor of cuts that will hurt workers. There is no departure. This is the same Conservative Party that is opposed to workers, that brought in laws to make it harder for unions to fight for good wages for their workers. So this is just a flip-flop, nothing more.
Are you worried that Tories are after, union votes, people that typically support the NDP?
No, what I'm concerned about is that now that we've passed this bill, that the Conservatives are going to try to find ways to weaken the legislation. They're going to try to find ways to make this in favor of the big bosses, not the workers. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the vision of the Conservatives to cut the help that people need, cut the services that people need, cut investments in healthcare. We are up against a serious challenge of cost of living, and we know the major drive of cost of living going up is because of corporate greed. Well, the Conservatives aren't going to fight corporate greed. Those are their buddies, their campaign directors, the lobbyists for Loblaws. They're not going to go against their friends. They are in favor of supporting corporate greed. They're in favor of hurting workers, and today was nothing more than a flip-flop.
Mr. Singh, I know you've been a bit concerned about the implementation period for this bill.
Yes.
Is that still something you're going to push at committee to maybe lower? And if so, what are you looking for in terms of timelines?
We're looking for accelerated implementation as soon as possible. We've passed this bill now. We're going to go to committee. There's 2 specific things we want to improve in committee. We want to extend this to the public service, so the public service is included, and we want to see rapid implementation, accelerated implementation. The Liberals talked about 18 months. That's just not acceptable. We're not okay with that. We want to see this done as quickly as possible. As Alexandre mentioned, there are a number of workers that would benefit from this law right now. There are workers in Quebec that are on strike that are being replaced by scabs, and we need to see this law put in place. This would have helped in the Rogers negotiation, and I think the thought of this coming in probably helped get to a better place where the workers were able to get a good deal because they knew that this law was around the horizon. We're hoping this is going to deter other employers from bringing in scab workers. This is something we want to see implemented as quickly as possible.
And what's the appetite for the Liberals, on the Liberal side, for those changes? Like, have you had conversations with them?
Yeah, we've had conversations. We made it clear that we need this done quickly, and they understand that that's what our demand is, and we're going to fight hard to make sure it happens.
What about the public service component? Is any appetite there?
We've raised this issue, and we're going to fight hard in committee to make it happen.
Oh, what poison pills are you concerned that, can you give specifics of what poison pills you believe that the Tories will specifically insert in this bill during committee?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to water this down that Conservatives and Liberals have floated. The idea that making certain work essential or making certain parts or components of a workplace where they need to bring in replacement workers in order for the work site to continue. Those have to be very narrow and very limited to strictly safety issues of a serious kind. And what we found is that Liberals and Conservatives want to find ways to open up broader loopholes that allow for replacement workers to get in where they should not be, and it undermines the whole purpose of this bill. So we're going to be very vigilant about that. We know that Conservatives are opposed to this. They've been opposed to this. The Liberals, frankly, have been opposed to this. We brought this bill in as New Democrats a number of times, and both parties have voted against it. So we are going to be vigilant that this bill passes, but passes in a strong way so it actually protects workers.
We've heard union leaders criticize Pierre Poilievre over him borrowing language from the working class. Do you have those similar concerns?
Well, I just look at Pierre Poilievre's track record. I know who he is. He voted against a federal minimum wage twice. Who does that benefit? It certainly doesn't benefit the workers. This is a clear example. Setting a minimum wage for workers at the federal level only benefits big bosses, and it hurts workers. That's who he is. He has brought in laws that made it harder for unions to be able to negotiate good deals. He has attacked workers' rights. That's who he is. And so I want workers to know that. And I think it's my job to make sure people know the choice they have in the upcoming election, that they've got New Democrats, as Matthew said, the only Labour Party in Canada, proudly a Labour Party, founded by workers, continue to fight for workers. And you've got Liberals who've let you down or out of touch, and Conservatives who have directly attacked workers multiple times, again and again. When it comes to back-to-work legislation, the Liberals and Conservatives leap into action to legislate workers back to work instead of allowing for good negotiations to happen. That's who they are. So workers should know that and know the choice that they have in the next election. Thanks so much. Merci.